Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. In the overnight session, ES and the other markets broke below key support, and we ended up getting overnight long liquidation. At this point, the market is bouncing within a range, and the first inflection point here is the 86.5 to 89 pre-market resistance zone. Now, given the overnight long liquidation, if we end up breaking from the balance that the market developed at the bottom of the range, then ES can still actually pop and go up to the 94.75 to 96.75 zone. So how the market reacts to this 86.50 to 89 is really going to help set the tone for the day and help establish the intraday bias. As long as ES is holding below 86.50, then we know that that overnight bearishness is still intact, and from there the market can go down and test the 79 quarter to 80 quarter, and at that point possibly 74 half, 76 half, and even 68 quarter to 70 quarter would still be within range. Recently we've seen a pickup in volatility, and we've seen wider ranges, so the range wouldn't really get exhausted until the 68 quarter to 70 quarter zone. So off the open, this 86.50 to 89 area is really going to be key, and it's going to help us establish our short-term directional bias. As long as ES is holding below this zone, the sell side can maintain control, and ES can head down to initial support and possibly even lower. Now that 68 quarter, 70 quarter is an area where first test we can still get responsive buyers active in this market. So even in the event of a continuation move and continued liquidation, the 68 quarter to 70 quarter zone can still be defended first time down. On the upside, given the overnight bearishness that we've seen in the market, any move back up to 94.75 to 96.75 or towards the 2099 high volume node can still attract sellers in this market, and that can still be a spot where we can get a short setup now first time up. Looking at the other markets, looking at TF, that 25 half to 27 half area in the Russell continues to be fairly important, and that's essentially the inflection point and resistance in the Russell. As long as TF is holding below 25 half to 27 half, then we know that sell side activity can still continue in that market as well. Looking over at NQ, we'll be using the 44.06 to 44.11 as important short-term resistance, and as long as NQ is holding below that zone, then we know that sellers can still remain active and in control. And then if we start getting breakouts in those other markets and they start holding above their overnight VPOCs, then we know that the market is stabilizing, and perhaps we can still go back up, because bigger picture, the market is still trading in such a wide balance that it requires being nimble on a day-to-day basis. We've seen within the last just couple of weeks where the market's been at a point where you have to be very bullish heading into it, and at the same time you've been at a point where the bias is quite bearish heading into it. So overall, the market is simply balancing in a very wide range, and that's why it requires a lot of flexibility, and you have to be willing to adjust your bias if you're going to kind of move along with the currents and stay on the right side of the market. So right now, heading into the open, let's keep an eye on 86.50 to 89. Like I said, that is going to set the tone for the type of activity we can get right off the open. We're getting a little bit more buying in the other markets right now as well. So this zone here and the other markets testing their own resistance is really going to establish the bias, the intraday bias for the day. And overall, just understand that we are in a balance. So a breakout above 86.50 to 89 can still take us up towards 94.75 to 96.75. We have some resistance at 90.75 to 91 along the way, but really the key zone is 86.50 to 89 and 94.75 to 96.75. So those are the main thoughts heading into the open. We do have to be pretty flexible again with our bias, and if off the open we start getting a lot of buying activity, then we just have to be patient for the 94.75 to 96.75 zone in order to enter short. If we start seeing quick failure and rejection off the open, then it can still present a short setup off the pre-market resistance zone, targeting a move down to 74 half to 76 half. So those are the main thoughts. Let's see which side really dominates this morning, and we'll take it from there.